We have all seen unbelievable, amazing passes thrown by quarterbacks at all levels of play. Most of us witness these passes on television. Of the top 10 amazing throws that I've seen, probably the top 5 belong to Patrick Mahomes, but I've never seen him in person. 47 years ago, I witnessed in person the most unbelievable, amazing, jaw-dropping throw of my life. I witnessed it in person on the field, and it happened right in front of me. This is Flashback Friday. The year is 1977. I'm a true freshman scholarship quarterback for the Oregon State Beavers in Corvallis, Oregon, the old Pac-8 conference. And we saw a bevy of really talented quarterbacks come through Corvallis that year, topped off by BYU's unbelievable squad of quarterbacks, Gifford Nielsen, Mark Wilson, and Jim McMahon. Now, Jack Thompson, the THROWIN SAMOAN, was the gunslinger for the Washington State Cougars, and he was one of the most highly touted QBs in the country in 1977. They had just come off of a huge upset win in Lincoln, Nebraska, going out and beating the Cornhuskers. He was on the front of Sports Illustrated, and the Cougars came into Corvallis to play us. And Jack Thompson came along with his talented group of receivers headed by Brian Kelly. Now, let's start with Jack Thompson and let's put some context on this. Jack Thompson and I both grew up in the state of Washington, and we both played summer league baseball. Now, I usually played up a couple of grades when I played baseball. And so in Babe Ruth, before we went into high school, we faced off against each other at least twice during one of those summers. And Thompson was almost as big back then as he was in college. I mean, he had to have been all of 6'3" and 215, 220 pounds. Now, obviously, he was bigger when he played for the Cougars, but he was a big, strong dude when he was playing summer baseball back in the day. Brian Kelly, the receiver for the Cougars, he went on to play in the Canadian Football League, the CFL, where Warren Moon was his quarterback for a couple of years, and he played for the Edmonton Eskimos. They won 5 Grey Cup championships in his time up there. Kelly now is 67 years old, and he is ranked 27th in the world in the Ironman competition. Unbelievable. Back when he played, he was about 5'7", 170 pounder, and just really athletic and really slippery. He ran great routes, and obviously he had really good hands. So the Washington State Cougars come into Corvallis, and that year as a true freshman, I suited up for all the home games. And so I was able to stand on the sideline and watched all these studs for like USC and Stanford. And as I said, BYU come in and play, University of Oregon. It was just really, really cool. I also traveled to Seattle that year because I'm from that area when we went and played the Washington Huskies, and Warren Moon was the starting quarterback. I mean, it's pretty obvious to see back then that he was going to be a hell of a player in the pros. But getting back to Jack Thompson. As an offensive coordinator, one of the throws that you really try to stay away from is throwing a wide side of the field out route. So we're talking about the ball being on a hash mark and your quarterback throwing it to the wide side, which in college amounts to about a 33 to 35 yard ball in the air. And depending on the depth of the out route, but it's about 33 to 35 yards across the field to get it to that route. And most quarterbacks don't have the arm strength to throw that, because on that out route, you have to throw a one or put it on a rope to get it there. And as I said, there's not a lot of guys that can do that consistently. That didn't stop Washington State, though, from calling that play, because Jack Thompson, the throwing Samoan, had a gun for an arm. Now, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to talk about what Nolan Ryan sounds like, or sounded like, in his prime when he pitched. I had the unbelievable experience of standing on field level, just about even with the catcher down in the bullpen, in an almost empty Kingdome up in Seattle, and watched Nolan Ryan warm up before they played the Mariners one night. And to see the ball coming at me and at the catcher was really, really frightening. But what was really scary was the sound that the ball made as it was coming through the air. It was just whoosh sound, and just almost a hissing with a whoosh. It was really strange. I mean, we used to always go down to the bullpen and watch these guys throw, and nobody ever threw a ball that made that kind of a sound. Okay, so remember that Nolan Ryan analogy as we start talking about Jack Thompson and this incredible pass. So here we go. Washington State's got the ball. I can't remember what part of the game it was, but I can remember this exact play like it happened yesterday. The ball is on the hash mark to their sideline. I'm standing on Oregon State's sideline, which is to the wide side of the field. Okay, so about 33 to 35 yards away from the ball. Brian Kelly splits out to our side. Jack Thompson goes up under center, takes the snap, and takes a 3-step drop. Kelly runs a quick out, or a speed out, or a banana out, however you want to call it. But basically what it is a 3-step stem, and then you roll it over, snap your eyes back to the quarterback as you run that little out route. And that's what Kelly ran. And Thompson took a 3-step drop, and he cut loose. Now, as a quarterback, you want your ball to spiral. The tighter the spiral, the better it is. 2 reasons for that. Number one, when the ball's cutting through the air and it has the shape of the football, if it's pointed at the receiver like this, like a true spiral, it is way more efficient and it is way faster cutting through the air. It doesn't get slowed down. Okay, now I'm not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that as soon as you get a little bit of a wobble on your throw, it starts to slow the speed of the ball down. Equate it to a guy throwing a knuckleball in baseball. You release that ball off your fingertips and it has no spin at all. And because it doesn't have any spin, it reacts to the environment that it's traveling through, and it's at the mercy of what the air wants to do with it. And that's why those things slow down, they dip, they curve, they rise, they drop, they lose speed, whatever. Well, it's the same thing with throwing a football. The second reason why you want to throw a tight spiral is, as a receiver, that's the ball that's easy to catch. As soon as it starts having this little wobble on it, it makes it a hell of a lot harder for receivers to catch the rock. Okay, so here we go. Kelly runs his out route, and Jack Thompson cuts loose with this throw, and it is anything but a tight spiral. Now, it's not like a kickoff where it's going end over end, but it's pretty similar to that, and it's coming right at me. So Kelly's running his route right at me, and here comes the ball right at me, and it's coming through the air like this. Okay, now here's why it was so amazing. The most incredible pass I've ever seen. It traveled, after it left Thompson's hand, it traveled about 6-7 feet off the ground the entire distance. There was no loft to it. It didn't die off. Okay. It went straight and true, which is amazing. The other thing that was really incredible is it was making the same sort of sound that the Nolan Ryan fastballs were making. So you had this kind of a whooshing / hissing sound as it's coming through the air in a non-spiral fashion. And as it's coming at me, I'm going, what? Okay, now Brian Kelly is smart. He's a smart receiver, and he knows that if he goes out and tries to catch this thing with his hands, he's probably going to break a couple of fingers. So he traps it against his chest. And when that ball hits him on the breastplate of his shoulder pads, big pop, and the force of the throw knocked Kelly off his feet. And now he is sailing through the air parallel to the ground like a cartoon character, clutching onto the ball. Boom. He lands on the ground flat on his back about, 2 or 3 yards inbounds for the catch. And I'm thinking to myself, you have got to be shitting me. And I looked at Kelly, and I looked up at Thompson, and I looked down at Kelly, and I looked at Thompson, and I knew that I had seen the most amazing pass that I have ever seen. And that was 47 years ago, and nothing has ever beat that moment. Nothing. It's amazing. Okay, Jack Thompson went on to be drafted the next year, with the number 3 pick in the first round to the Cincinnati Bengals. He had a disappointing NFL career, but he's a Washington State Cougar and Pac-8 legend. And he didn't tarnish his status as being a legend or the throwing Samoan with that one throw in Corvallis in 1977. If you like that video, please like, share, and subscribe. Put a comment down below if you feel like it. This is QB Unfiltered, and remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.